made me the greatest player of all time. And then after I stopped, I was like, that one right there made you the greatest.
Does LeBron James feel pressure when Steph Curry's name comes up? In today's endless GOAT debates, most people answer without hesitation. But if we're being honest, the modern NBA would look nothing like it does now if Stephen Curry had never arrived. If the baby-faced sniper hadn't redefined what was possible from long range, basketball history would have followed a very different script. Without Curry's shooting revolution, LeBron James likely would have owned this era outright. The greatest of all time discussion would have begun and ended with him. Everything was lining up in LeBron's favor. The numbers, the championships, the iconic moments, all pointing toward an untouchable legacy. Then came number 30. Calm, confident, and fearless, Steph entered the league with a smile and completely disrupted the balance of power. Each impossible three didn't just win games, it chipped away at the one thing LeBron wanted most: a clear, undisputed claim as basketball's greatest ever. Fast forward back to 2014, when LeBron's dominance felt inevitable. At just 30 years old, he was firmly in his prime, coming off 4 straight trips to the finals, with the league bending around his presence. Every title contender had to go through him. Once again, the pieces seemed perfectly arranged. A newly formed roster designed around his strengths, supported by 2 elite, all-NBA level teammates ready to follow his lead.
Looking at right here is the best of all of them.
By that stage, Michael Jordan already owned 3 championships, while LeBron James had 2. The distance wasn't large, and it felt like time itself was preparing to close the gap. Everything pointed toward destiny doing the rest of the work. But destiny had other ideas, and it wore a Warriors jersey with number 30 on the back. As the 2015 season began, all eyes were locked on Cleveland. The Cavaliers entered the year as the undisputed favorites, and at the heart of it all stood LeBron James. Calm, locked in, and backed by a roster stacked with firepower, he looked ready to take his seat at the top. The moment felt perfect. He was bigger, wiser, and arguably playing the most complete basketball of his career. The climb toward Michael Jordan didn't just seem possible, it felt unavoidable. Then Steph Curry happened. What started as a soft-spoken, smooth shooting guard quickly became a full-blown shockwave across the league. In just a flash, the NBA's balance of power shifted. Over the next 4 seasons, LeBron dragged his teams to 4 straight finals, a run that sounds mythical on paper. But the results tell a harsher story. A heartbreaking near-miss, one unforgettable title, followed by a gentleman's sweep, and finally, a clean sweep that ended the debate for many.
To show that it's close, but in my opinion, Curry's impact has been far greater than
1 championship in 4 attempts, and every setback, every crushing loss, seemed to trace back to the same name, Wardell Stephen Curry. Without Steph, the Golden State Warriors never evolve into the nightmare that ran the league. No historic shooting spree, no modern dynasty, and no irresistible destination for Kevin Durant. Curry didn't just reshape basketball, he altered the trajectory of LeBron James' career. Let's be clear though, this isn't about LeBron falling off. Not even close. What he pulled off in 2016, rallying Cleveland from a 3-1 deficit against a 73-win Warriors team, stands as one of the greatest achievements the sport has ever seen. That ring is untouchable. But when the GOAT debate begins, numbers still matter. A 1-4 finals record during his prime, despite rosters designed to overwhelm opponents, became a permanent part of the conversation. One that even LeBron's brilliance couldn't completely erase. Here's the part that really makes you pause. Take Steph Curry out of the equation, and LeBron's legacy may look unrecognizable. Picture an NBA where Curry never steps on a court, never launches those fearless bombs from the logo. In that alternate reality, LeBron likely controls the league from start to finish, piling up championships with ease. It's not crazy to think he wins 4 straight titles in that stretch, finishes with 7 rings, 7 championships, and 7 finals MVPs. At that point, the debate doesn't even feel like a debate. LeBron James wouldn't just be in the GOAT conversation. He'd be standing above Michael Jordan for many fans, and the argument would be over before it even began.
Of Michael Jordan.
Of Michael Jordan.
To Michael Jordan.
That perfect alternate reality never came to life, because Steph Curry did. His presence rewrote the timeline of the NBA. Instead of 7 finals victories, LeBron finished with 4. Instead of a clean finals resume, 6 losses now sit beside his wins. That one shift completely flipped the numbers in the GOAT debate. Once the record settled at 4 wins and 6 losses, the math stopped favoring LeBron. And no matter how many points he scores, how many assists he stacks, or how many records he breaks, that finals tally hangs over his legacy like a shadow he can't shake. Steph didn't just slow LeBron's rise, He struck at the core of his GOAT argument. With every Logo 3 and every championship celebration in the Bay, Curry reshaped the legacy race. And the impact went deeper than rings and box scores. To truly understand it, you have to rewind and look at how greatness was forged before. Everyone knows Michael Jordan's flawless 6-0 finals record. That number alone is powerful enough to anchor him at the top of nearly every GOAT discussion. But what often gets overlooked is the suffering that came before the dominance. Before Jordan became unbeatable, he kept running into the same brick wall. 3 straight years, one enemy. In 1988, fresh off winning both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, Jordan ran straight into Isaiah Thomas and the Bad Boy Pistons, and got knocked out 4-1. The following season he pushed harder, but Detroit still shut the door, this time 4-2. Those losses scarred him. They hardened him. They forced him to evolve. And that's where the legend truly began. LeBron had his own version of that nightmare, and his name was Steph Curry. Just like Jordan's battles with Detroit, LeBron kept crashing into the same roadblock. The matchups grew bigger, louder, and more intense, but the ending stayed cruelly familiar. Same rival, same heartbreak, same impossible wall.
Finals, but he's in a position to win his 3rd straight NBA championship.
It took years of disappointment, pressure, and unanswered questions, but Michael Jordan absorbed every loss until he finally cracked the code. Once he learned how to win at the highest level, there was no turning back. He never glanced over his shoulder again. And this part goes beyond rings and box scores. It's about mindset. It's about how a man responds when the world knocks him flat and tells him no. Jordan didn't avoid the storm. He stepped straight into it, stood tall in the chaos, and conquered everything that stood in front of him. Now put that next to LeBron James in 2010. When he left Cleveland for Miami to form a super team, he was 25, young, restless, desperate to win. People understood it. He needed help, and eventually it worked. But jump ahead to 2014. LeBron is 29, fully established as the face of the league, coming off another painful finals loss, and he leaves again. This time it felt different. It wasn't just about support anymore. It looked like an escape from failure. For someone chasing GOAT status, that choice carried a heavier weight. When you're crowned king, you don't usually walk away from the throne after a defeat. And let's be honest, if Cleveland didn't already have Kyrie Irving in place, or if the situation wasn't perfectly aligned to trade for Kevin Love, that coming home storyline likely never materializes. It was a great narrative, sure, but it was also a carefully selected setup for another title push. Even then, destiny had one more obstacle waiting: Steph Curry and the Warriors. Just like the Pistons once blocked Jordan. Just like the Celtics and Spurs slowed young LeBron early on, Golden State became the next wall. And when that climb grew steep again, when the pressure mounted and age started creeping in, LeBron moved once more, this time west to Los Angeles. To be clear, no one is questioning his effort. LeBron competes. He fights. He gives everything he has on the floor. That's undeniable. But the pattern is hard to ignore. Each time the wall started to close in, a new situation appeared. Leaving once is understandable. Leaving twice raises questions. Leaving 3 times starts to reveal something deeper about how pressure is handled. Now look at Steph Curry in 2019. He loses the finals. The dynasty looks finished. In 2020, he gets hurt and the team collapses. In 2021, Golden State doesn't even make the playoffs, bounced out in the play-in. That's real adversity. And here's the difference. Steph didn't run. He didn't go searching for another superstar. He didn't chase a safer path. He stayed. He took the losses, the criticism, the headlines declaring the Warriors finished, and he carried it all on his shoulders.
Pass the ball. I think LeBron is a complete player. He played both ends.
And then he answered back. When Steph finally rose again, he did it with a statement so cold, so self-assured, it echoed across the entire league. A single post-game line that wasn't just spoken, it was proven. With that familiar smile and unbreakable belief, Curry climbed back to the top and delivered a reminder the basketball world couldn't ignore. This is who he is. A champion built for pressure. Ice in his blood. That return wasn't about luck or timing. It was about legacy. About earning your way back when everyone says you're finished. So forget the trophies for a moment. Ignore the stat sheets. Strip the debate down to the story itself. Watch how each man responded when resistance hit hardest, when the game pushed back. Steph's path reads like the kind of hero arc people don't just respect, they believe in.
If Steph and Curry didn't exist, LeBron would probably be the unanimous best player of all time.
Doubt, redemption, triumph. That's the blueprint of true greatness. And it's why a once unthinkable question is now being whispered more and more. How can LeBron James be crowned the greatest of all time when someone from his own generation lived out a tougher, richer, and more inspiring championship story? But here's the twist. Steph Curry didn't just reshape LeBron's GOAT case through finals results. The real blow came through influence. Look at today's kids. You already know what's coming next. They're not lowering their shoulders to overpower defenders or backing someone down in the post. Instead, they're taking a step back, lifting the ball, and firing from way beyond the line. Why? Because that's what they grew up watching. They're imitating Steph. The motion, the confidence, the release, the swagger. And that detail matters far more than most people realize.
Just leave and abandon ship and then get the band of merry men to start up again. You don't do that. You created this monster that was called the Miami Heatles. Now you got to finish it up.
This isn't about a lack of respect for LeBron James. The respect is unquestioned. Players revere him, coaches celebrate him, and millions of fans still call him the king. But here's the reality. LeBron's dominance is rooted in once-in-a-generation physical gifts, size, speed, and strength that almost no one on earth could ever replicate. You can admire that kind of greatness, but it's hard to see yourself in it. Steph Curry is different. His greatness feels attainable. It's built on skill, touch, timing, balance, and fearless confidence. Things kids can actually work on, things they can imagine themselves mastering. That's why when the new generation steps onto the court, they're not dreaming about being the biggest body in the paint. They want to be the coldest shooter on the floor. Steph didn't just win basketball games. He rewired the sport itself. His rise wasn't just a string of deep threes, it was a cultural shockwave. From cracked asphalt courts to packed NBA arenas, the entire energy of basketball shifted because of him. Before Curry, kids wanted to dunk like LeBron, overpower defenders like Shaq, or soar like Jordan. Now they want to pull up from the logo, hold the follow-through, and turn away before the shot even drops. That's how deep his influence goes. Walk into any gym, any high school practice, any late-night pickup run, and you'll hear it. Someone yelling Curry as a wild three goes up. It's not just a shot anymore. It's a mentality. Steph made shooting cool. He turned finesse into force, accuracy into attitude.
Want to see us next year.
Kids don't need to be 6 feet 8 inches or have a 40-inch vertical to dream big. All they need is a ball, a hoop, and the confidence to take their shot. That's how Steph Curry became more than just a player. He became a movement. Even the NBA had to adapt. Teams started building rosters around shooting. Centers learned to stretch the floor. Point guards became snipers. Suddenly, every coach was preaching spacing and pace. The Warriors didn't just win titles, they rewrote basketball strategy from the ground up. Meanwhile, LeBron watched the game he once dominated slowly shift away from him. The league that once revolved around his power moves and highlight dunks turned into a shooter's paradise. A world perfectly designed for Steph's magic. Every rising MVP candidate, from Luka to Trey to Ja, owes a little to the style Curry created. It's wild to consider. LeBron might be one of the most physically dominant athletes in sports history, but Steph redefined what dominance even means. He showed you can break defenses without brute force, that finesse can be louder than power, and that confidence can shape an entire generation. Now, kids don't dream of being the fastest or the strongest. They dream of pulling up from the logo, watching the ball swish through the net, and hearing the crowd erupt. That's the Steph effect. Quiet confidence, deadly skill, and a legacy built not just on rings but on inspiration. Zoom out and the full picture becomes clear. Steph didn't just compete with LeBron, he beat him on the moments that mattered most. On the biggest stages, under the brightest lights, Steph walked away the winner more often. He doesn't just hold the edge in rings, he owns the narrative. His story hits harder, feels more complete, more human. And the most powerful part? The culture. People didn't just watch Steph, they copied him.